Well, a happy Saturday out here as we go into the Smite Challenger Circuit. And welcome, everyone who's going to be watching. My name is Gormizer, and I'm happy to walk you through today. Alongside me is going to be none other than Aggro, and we are going over to Europe for the Challenger Circuit today, making things incredibly interesting for us. We're going to have Joystick taking on Just F6. And Aggro, this is one of those matchups that I'm actually really excited for. I mean, Just F6, as we've seen it and you will see, have a jungler stepping in where Worst Turtle used to be, so maybe a little bit of a new look for them, but also Joystick. It's just been one of my guilty pleasure teams. I just really like watching them.
Yeah, Joystick has kind of come out of nowhere in the EU SCC and all of a sudden looking like a top contender in this region. I mean, obviously Elysium is the top dog, but this Joystick team has really impressed me. It's time for Just F6 to try and, work through some of their struggles. And as you said, a new jungler for them. It's going to be Mastkill in their first SCC game, replacing Worst Turtle in the jungle for Just F6.
Yeah, so definitely not the easiest team to go up against. But then again, when you look at every other team that exists in Europe, none of them seem like an easy team that they're going to be able to take on. Yesterday, you would have seen Pandemonium take on Snake Hunters, but that was not broadcast. So today, we have the last matchup here for Europe. Number 2 at 4-2 could end up tied with Goodnight Nick and Pandemonium if Just F6 are able to get the win. Otherwise, Team Joystick can solidify themselves as that number 2 spot. That's where things get a lot more interesting. Europe is ridiculous because of that. I mean, everyone being so close, at least in the top 4, makes things a lot more unique. This is the last phase for them, so this is going to be what matters going forward. I guess going into like Worlds placements, I believe, is where these teams are really fighting for. And so for Joystick, a win is very important.
Absolutely, and this region has been very, very competitive. At the beginning of the year, we expected Elysium to just kind of waltz on through, do whatever they wanted in this region, and that really has not been the case. Even though they're 6-1, they've had a lot of close games. The other teams in the top 4 have very much impressed me, and Joystick has been one of those. I'm excited to see what they bring today.
Yeah, and for those of you who are watching Joystick, that's Echrome, Calvin, Sap, Sarpei, and Mogao. Mogao, I'm going to give a lot of credit to just because Mogao plays some of the weirdest things that I've ever seen in the solo lane. But I actually want to look at some of these other players. Echrome has someone that and has really, really stood out to me as a player just in general over the last couple of years, really stepping up and knocking it out of the park with a lot of their play. Calvin as well. This duo lane is formidable.
It really has been. I've been impressed with this duo lane, and that's the thing about Joystick is that it hasn't been just one player that is all of a sudden coming out of nowhere. I mean, Echrome has been around, Sarpei has been around. These are names that you should recognize if you've watched a lot of EU SCC throughout the years. But Sap in the mid lane, Calvin in support, those are names that I was not particularly familiar with coming into this split. And they have really, really impressed. Calvin on things like that Kepri. Sap has been playing a lot of different stuff. This Hell a couple weeks ago up against Elysium. I remember casting this game. But, of course, you've also got things, he's played Discordia and looked really good. He's just done a lot of really good work for this squad.
It was weird to see because, like you said, never heard of Sap before the relegations when we start looking at him in their qualifying. And then, like, a really, really good The Morrigan game. I believe Sap pulled out Vulcan, if I remember correctly. And, like, it was just so ridiculous to me. Won me over immediately. And, again, that's why this team has become one that is my guilty pleasure to watch. Just F6 is who they are taking on today, a team that is a lot lower in the standings and has been struggling over really the whole year. They were one of the teams that got relegated out of Phase 1, but they managed to win their matches and make their way right back into the SCC. And they've got a lot of players, and they've found success. It's always just a little mistake in each game that ends up costing them everything.
Yeah, they haven't been getting just absolutely trounced in every single game. They've had their moments for sure, and with names like Toddy, like Rotwin, Sotos, I mean, those are names that have been around for a little bit. Losing Worst Turtle is going to hurt this team in the jungle for sure. I mean, Worst Turtle definitely has seen his fair share of success at this EU SEC level in the past. Having a new face coming in, Mastkill, you'd expect a slight downturn, at least initially, but if things haven't been working, and they haven't for this team, why not try and make a change? Why not try something a little bit new? And so in that regard, I think that they have the right idea. There's no reason to continue just going with the same status quo and then just end up falling short and go, unlucky. You know, we'll get them next time. I think it was time to make a change for this team, and I'm excited to see what Maskell is going to do.
Yeah, I'm excited because the last time we had unknown players, or at least players whose names I didn't know, all of a sudden they came through and won me over. So we'll see what Maskell is able to do here. Team Joystick is going to be your first pick team here as we move into picks and bans for Europe. And this is one that, again, a lot of implications, I think more for Joystick than there really are for Just F6. Just F6, a win is huge just by merits of the fact that I think they only have one set win as of right now. For Joystick, you are contending for your second place spot. You're trying to make sure that you stay out of that fray that's in the middle in Europe, but also trying to take some shots down at Elysium. If you can either topple them later in this phase, I can't remember whether or not they've actually played them their second time just
They did,
yet.
and it was very close. I think it was a 3-game set, if I remember correctly.
But being able to take that first place spot away, whether Elysium have like some catastrophic slip up, like that would be a big deal for them.
Absolutely. I mean, securing that top 2 spot, very important. You know that trying to separate yourself from that pack, as you mentioned, very, very critical for this team. But on the other side, Just F6, I mean, it's do or die time. You got to start winning. You probably need some help in order to get into that top 4 at this point, but there's still some weeks left in the SCC, so you never know what can really happen. This could be the start of their Cinderella run.
You never know, right? And that's part of the fun of it all. Umoja, Sol, Tiamat banned away by Joystick, Osiris, the RDO, and the Odin going to be banned away by Just F6. And Hell first pick, something that we have honestly gotten, I want to say, more used to seeing banned than I've gotten used to seeing first pick. Hell has been in this weird limbo, and so far she's been performing well. I
mean, look, Sap plays this god. We saw it up against Elysium, so no surprise that they're willing to take it. I mean, Cerberus Fenrir on the other end is a fairly good response. Cerberus obviously has that anti-heal built into the passive, and then Fenrir, pretty decent matchup into the Hell, at least can try and kill her in the early game. But these games, if you can't close out this Hell fairly quickly, is going to become pretty difficult to deal with, and that's where my concern is. I'm surprised that Joystick goes Sobek and not Khepri in that spot. I think that we've seen that Calvin on Khepri, Sap on Hell sort of combo in the past that seemed to work pretty well. Maybe this is Sobek solo, and they're just hoping that Just F6 don't ban it, but I'm a little surprised not to see Calvin snatch up that Khepri right away.
Also, just Hell. Look, irritating a team with Hell and Khepri would be to play against.
Hard.
I'm starting to think about, man, what executes can we have online? Are executes going to even be worthwhile? Yes, it goes through the Khepri res, but anything like that. Either way, we don't have to worry about that. Like you said, Sobek locked in. Although, we did see it a fair bit yesterday in the SBL where Sobek was getting thrown, maybe it was SCC. My mind's starting to blend things together all of a sudden. Throwing the Sobek into the solo lane, giving him a little bit more of a fight to come and rotate in later, maybe not be as impactful in the early game.
For me, it's very, very simple. Are Guardians viable in solo lane? If yes, and the answer right now is a resounding yes, then Sobek solo is good, because Sobek is one of the hardest gods to kill in the entire game, has so much mobility, so many protections, heal, CC, and there's no easier way to execute a team fight than Sobek pluck that dude and my team kills him for me, and then I Sobek pluck the next dude and my team kills him for me. Like, it is as simple as Smite can get.
Well, they're not going to end up going with the Khepri, but they do lock in Kabrakan, and that does make things seem really tumultuous. Both Kabrakan and Sobek like solo lane and like supporting, so they can swap things around. Catching up on the bans just to make sure they're thrown out there. Camazotz, as well as the Kumbhakarna, those feel very targeted, mainly towards Mogao, just because we know that Mogao's the only Kumbha player I think I've seen in this year. I think that's a really easy statement to make. Artemis and Tyr banned on the other side. Hachiman alongside the Serket round out Just F6. And this is a pretty solid lineup. I mean, honestly, everything that you have on Just F6 is something I could see locked into the SBL and performing really well.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Serket idea to try and lock down this Hell yet again, 100% anti-healer. I mean, clearly Just F6 did not forget about Hell. That it was like, oh man, we forgot about it. They came in with a plan. It's just a matter of if this plan is going to work.
Well, let's see if they can make it work here. Game number 1, Joystick taking on Just F6. You had highlighted anti-heal. This is where I think a lot of it comes in handy. Not just the Serket, but Cerberus has a little bit. Raijin specifically really good with Divine Ruin. I think they've got a pretty decent fighting chance. It's just shutting down Sap. That's going to be the hard part. Making sure all of that works and goes somewhere useful is always the more difficult portion of this, as we see Sap running around with Hell. Heimdall has been Another pick I actually think that's worth mentioning here. I want to keep the conversation on healing, but I'm pretty sure, and I don't have the stats for it, but Echrome has like the most insane Heimdall to the point where it has been a top 3 ban against this team in the past.
It is very, very rare to see Echrome get this Heimdall, for sure, and for good reason. We don't see it very often. It seems like Heimdall has really taken over the EU SCC and what dominates at this level. He seems like the premier hunter. You'll see teams prioritize him over Artemis a lot of the time, and really any other hunter that comes to mind. Echrome is a big reason why. He has almost single-handedly put this god on the map, but it's forced every other hunter to also become very, very good at Heimdall, and they've all really answered that call. We've seen Spudio take it out. We've seen basically everybody play this Heimdall at this level to a pretty good success rate.
Wow, Mogao over here, not going to be able to find the kill. In fact, it might be in mid. It's going to be Sotos jumping onto Sap, First Blood, Sarpe low, but is going to be able to get out of there. That is maybe the best kill you could get. Hell, we know is going to be a problem. Shut him down fast.
And Maskill getting off to a good start in their SCC debut. Just jumps in, no fear, exactly how it needs to be on the Fenrir. Get the beads from Sap and kill him. You got to be more respectful of Fenrir Raijin level 2. I mean, it's just so much better than Hunbat's Hell level 2. It's not even close. Even with how good Hell is, Hunbat's almost anemic at level 2. Just does not bring enough. You got to respect that. Just give up that wave. It's not that important.
I'm trying to think of the last time I saw a Hunbat's in general, let alone when he's been making plays pre-5. Like,
right.
you know, Fear No Evil just is the pivotal moment for a Hunbat's. And Sarpe is actually going to still get aggressive. You can see the counter aggression on the other side, at least a Harpy steal coming out from Mastkill, whereas you're seeing some back camps stripped away. And so a battle of the junglers, but that does leave Sap alone. Almost enough lockdown from just Sotos. That's the danger, right? It's not just the fact that Mastkill can follow you, it's the fact that Sotos has a very easy and damaging mez.
Exactly. Easy setup for any jungler. That's why Raijin has been so good in these 2v2 metas, where his level 2 is just better because he sets up his jungler and does damage at the exact same time, and it's guaranteed. You're not missing a Thunder Crash. Like, it's just not happening.
Makes things in life easier. Damage is going to be good from him. A little bit of aggression coming out in the duo lane, but it doesn't look like they're going to be able to find too much here. Calvin, you had mentioned this, but on the Sobek is a threat, but also it's such an interesting thing because when I look at Hachiman, when I look at Heimdall, I don't know that I'm looking at pre-5 threats. Like, I mean, I'm still thinking of people like maybe Hachiman can have the damage, but it feels like you've got a lot of support aggression, but not as much follow-up as you'd like.
Maskill going to try and get the solo invade going, and he does get it successfully, but Pluck forces his beats.
And that's 2 invades, 2 successes so far. Beats, like you said, just used. And that's all she wrote. He walks in, walks out. They get the red buff as well on top of that. Good experience stripping. Again, just F6, this is a really good start.
Very aggressive. Maskill is all over the place and clearly not outmatched by the new level for him. So definitely impressed with how they're playing so far. Exactly what you want to do. He's going to end up falling behind a little bit in experience because stripping away enemy jungle doesn't give you as much golden experience as clearing your own. And Sarpe is just on power farm mode as expected for the Hunbats, but certainly the impact across the map has been much greater so far from Maskill, as expected, based on the pick. The thing is, can just F6 continue this pace? Because even with the First Blood, even with these buff invades, this game is even, which means that Joystick is doing something right somewhere else on the map because they must be getting neutrals or something because they lost the First Blood bounty and they didn't get their first respawns of red or purple.
That has a huge threat. Mid-camps. Again, it's so weird. I feel like an SCC, and maybe it's just the last few weeks, I watched like a Season 2 video like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and since then I've been talking about mid-camps way more. And it really is just this small little detail, especially when it is this close. Those small neutral objectives, little harpies, do end up helping things just, well, siphon away a little bit of a lead that Just F6 have been able to pick up. They also have opened themselves to an interesting conversation. Level 5 just hit both for Mastkill and for Sarpe, but Mastkill doesn't have beads. Mastkill's going to go in, go for the ult immediately, but on the Mogao of all people. Not where I expected to see that one. The damage is going to be there. Half health from Mogao, but a good wall turnaround is going to help pick that one up. Mogao gets the kill and takes out Mastkill one more time.
Lestemic's just not ready for that play from Maskill. Clearly on 2 different pages over there on the right side of the map. I mean, beads were up for Mogao. and he just knows that he's not under any danger whatsoever from Maskill. So he can hold him, wait until Maskill uses his leap, wait until he uses the Brutalize, then I'm going to lock him in. And Sarpei was really there just as an insurance policy, but I think Mogao probably had that solo kill all to himself, thanks to the build. It's a Bancroft's rush over here in the solo lane for the Cabrakan. And look, Mogao and his builds, they're always...
and his gods.
And his gods. They're always different. And I'll talk about why I hate it in a minute.
Well, yeah, Echrome just trying to get through the Bifrost. Not going to be able to escape this one. Rotwin being able to lock him down. Good taunts to make sure he can't escape. And they're able to answer the kill on their jungler with a kill onto the Hunter. For Toddy to pick it up as well. But it was one of those things, I guess, you want to talk about Mogao, and I'll go there first.
No, I want to talk about that one real quick.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's do it.
Just real briefly, that kill I actually attribute more to Maskill than anyone else, because Just F6's duo lane hit 5 first because that purple buff got invaded. And that allowed Rotwin to just blink ult Echrome and get his beads because Echrome was level 4 whenever the Serket was level 5.
Well, now it's Sap who's in a little bit of trouble. There's going to be the Ragnarok, but it's not going to be enough. Instead, Rotwin is the one who's taken down, not even having to drop too much. But here comes the Taiko drums. Damage is good. Sarpei needs one more hit, but he's going to be able to walk out alive. Now, Sap, no mana, but still trying to fight here. Fenrir going to use the damage, finds the kill under the Tier 1 tower. But luckily, it's under the Tier 1 tower, so Sap's able to return it.
He gets at least that 1-for-1, and Sarpei still maybe greeting for this play, but no, we'll just be here to farm. Ends up being a 1-for-1 in mid. You kill the Hell, but the Hell kills you. The problem is that Maskill is now falling pretty far behind after this really good early play.
And wow, they're just not stopping at this point. Echrome goes in for the boxing match, a couple of shots, but it's going to be Toddy instead who pulls it out, finds the solo kill, and didn't even need to use the ult. Had to pop the beads, but now Sarpei's over here looking for a return kill. Barely any mana. Fear no evil gets that one. Sarpei looking to run away from Rotwin. A good pluck from Calvin makes him get out of here. Now the kills are tied.
Love that play from Toddy, man. Not being too scared, staying at home, just knowing that he could actually win that 1v1. Echrome, nice and confident, nearly had the damage numbers, but was just a little bit short. And that early purple buff invade continues, I think, to be the difference maker, because Toddy was level 8, Echrome level 7. That extra little bit of HP you get per level, a little bit of power per level, all that may have been the difference maker.
Yeah, just that one little bit of difference makes a huge impact. Speaking of huge impact, Rotwin, as much as this Serket has been able to do, is just caught out on the left side jungle. I think looking to try and peek around for the red buff. Not going to be able to find it. You've had Maskill get a little aggressive as well. It just feels like, unfortunately for Joystick, all the great plays that are being made are just also being met with a couple of missteps.
Exactly what we were talking about earlier, which is Just F6 is, you know, they're not coming to these games and looking totally lost. They're making really good plays. It's just a mistake here and there start to snowball pretty quickly. And it's just a few mistakes 8 minutes in that have allowed Joystick to come back into this game and set themselves up with a much better late game than what Just F6 have, because they've got the Hell.
And we had talked about the farm a little bit earlier, but with the first blood bounty, you would think Just F6 would be ahead, although at this point, the kills, everything's been so ridiculous. They also had those invades, but it is 500 gold, ever so slightly in favor of Joystick. Not a whole ton. Echrome's going to go back in, misses the ult this time. Toddy's going to be able to find the stun. You're starting this at half health, and there's a jungler just waiting to join this. No mana for Echrome, not going to be able to make it out of this one. Maskill looks to put an end to the 1v1 and takes out Echrome for his hubris.
Like the idea there from Echrome, but of course you have to land that ultimate knowing that Toddy doesn't have beads. Really good play from Toddy, doesn't overplay his hand, doesn't ult in or ult away. Just stands there and keeps Echrome on the line. Make sure that Maskill is going to be able to pick up that kill pretty cleanly. Like that play from Toddy quite a bit. Force the beads out from Echrome as well. Echrome is trying to do a little bit too much in this lane. You are now officially behind. Time to hold that L, buddy. You just got to accept it.
Yeah, 0-3-0 might be 2-3 here for Sap, trying to get away. The healing's not going to be there thanks to Rotwin's ult, the 100% anti-heal. Maskill as well with that Ragnarok makes sure to help lock them down. Gets the kill onto Sap. And that's two really good pickups. Calvin just off the mark with a pluck on a no-mana Fenrir. And so there's no return kill from Joystick.
And Sap loses the beads at the exact same time. So a good play by Just F6 catching him out. Sap needs a little bit more protection there with the rest of them. I think Sarpei has not really been there to defend these red buffs particularly well. Calvin as well. Can't allow your Hell to just solo clear a red whenever there's a Serket Fenrir on the other side, no one to try and shut.
They're scrappy. I will admit, this was not what I expected. 9 minutes in, 10 minutes in now, we're at 11 kills for them. And honestly, they're not slowing down. They continue to look for a little bit more. A lot of pressure that started over here, specifically in the solo lane. Mogao with a decent, well, I want to say damage build, I guess? Question mark?
Yes, finally. Can I talk about why I hate this? Okay, look. The worst thing you can do whenever you've got a hill. No, I can't talk about it yet. Still, God.
Now he's getting chased down. Hey, he gets killed off. Aggro, does he get killed off because of his build?
No, probably not, honestly. He's probably dead there no matter what. The reason why the Bancrofts is bad, though, here, Gore, is because you've already got a Hell. You've already got a Cerberus with Tainted Steel on the other side. They're going to build so much anti-heal.
Yeah, Cerberus, the Tainted Steel, the Brawlers, Beat Stick, the Divine Ruin that already finished.
You're going to get no value out of this Bancrofts whatsoever. The time to go Bancrofts builds in mid, I'm not even going to talk about when you should be going them in solo, is really whenever you know that there's no other healing on your team, that they're not going to want to build anti-heal for just your build. And whenever that happens, Bancrofts, Typhons, all that stuff gets huge value. When you've got a Hell, they're going to build every anti-heal item in the book.
Yeah.
And so all you're doing is buying a 100 power item that gives you more power as you go lower. And that's the only stat it really is effectively giving you, and that's not good enough.
It was helpful early on, and has since not necessarily been too much. But like you said, that's before all those anti-heal items came online. So we'll see, I guess, what impact it can have overall. Solo lane's been quiet until that last kill on Mogao. It has been a lot of pressure onto Echrome lately. 3-0, I think, was the last one. You had mentioned, like, finally behind. He was 2 levels down.
Yeah.
The last one, despite being 2 levels down, still looked like he was going to take the 1v1, but he wasn't quite able to, just thanks to the jungle rotation. And that's the other thing. We've seen a lot of mass kill. I've seen a couple Fear No Evils, but it's been a little bit for Sarpé to get their hand on the wheel.
Yeah, Sarpé has been pretty focused on the farm, very selective with the fights that they're taking. And that's not a problem for Hunbats. I think the Hunbats wants to be pretty selective with the fights he wants to take. He only wants to fight when Fear No Evil's up. He needs to get his farm in order to get to that late game, because Hunbats is a very good late game assassin, not just in team fighting, but his 1v1 becomes very good as well. Fenrir needs to be putting the pedal to the metal early, and Maskill has done exactly that. I think that both these junglers have done their jobs and done their duty for the 2 different styles that their team is kind of demanding of them. It's now Maskill's job to start to build pretty hybrid, build a little bit more tanky, and continue to be this facilitator. And you hope that by now this Raijin is going to be able to start doing a little bit more damage, that this Hachiman is going to be able to do a little more damage, and that Listemix coming in is going to add that extra bit of CC that you needed.
And it's just, again, the way that it coalesces into this late game comp, because on one side you've got what has been very scrappy, very, very aggressive, I want to say, because, yeah, Fenrir, like that's you know what you're trying to do from the very get-go. You hit level 5, you control everybody. But the other side with a Hunbats, with a Hell, with Heimdall as well, like it feels like they transition into that late game in a very devastating fashion. That, the fact that the kills are even, that the gold is slightly in favor of of Joystick, makes things a little more timid for me for Just F6 going into like 20 minutes.
Agreed. I think that Listemix is going to have to make an earlier rotation and try and affect the outcome of this game a little bit earlier.
Well, we'll see what they can do. Sarpé just barely getting out of that one. Beads and Blink going to be used in order to stay alive this time around. So pressure has shifted. It was left lane. You know you've got an advantage over there. Push over to the right. They're looking like they might even and will pick up a Pyromancer for free here for Just F6. And this is going to be the first substantial, not only neutral objective really picked up, but also gold lead really that we're seeing out of one of these teams.
Yeah, still not quite enough for Just F6, but in the right direction. They're making the right steps, and they're starting to hit some pretty key power spikes. I mean, Tyrannical Plate Helm there for Listemix gives him a ton of power as well as a little bit of protection. Blackthorn Hammer for Maskill is exactly what I was asking for, continuing to go a little bit more hybrid. Relic Dagger now for Rotwin as well allows him to be more aggressive with the Blink.
Well, more aggressive. Doesn't even need the Blink for this one. Goes for a taunt onto Calvin. I was wondering if the ult follow-up was going to be there. Toddy had made the rotation, but Oracle Harpies is the call for them. After getting the Pyromancer, you know you're feeling pretty secure, but you also know that there's not a lot of pressure on the right-hand side, and you can see a 4-man rotation from Joystick on the left side. Sarpé is hanging out over here as well. Ult not quite up. But no fight over the Gold Fury means you don't have to worry about it.
Not quite yet, and when it comes down to these Gold Fury fights, Just F6 really shouldn't be taking one without Listemix. I mean, I think he is really that important to the way this team fight is going to go. But Just F6 does have a pretty big advantage in terms of mobility in this game. They've got a ton of gap close between not just these blinks, but Fenrir leap and circuit mobility, and everyone's got a movement ability on their side. So it's hard for characters like Kabrakan to play against compositions like that, number one. And number two, even a Sobek pluck might not be a death sentence necessarily for Just F6. Sap is going to have a hard time spacing where he wants to be in this team fight because of how hard it is to respect all that gap close on the side of Just F6, as well as actually be in position to deal relevant damage.
Well, Just F6 was looking like they were going to get aggressive. I think they're potentially throwing over a vision shard, a ward, something to peek over and see that red buff is already done. It's happened already. They're going to get aggressive. Sap's the one who gets taunted through. A good jump from Fenrir, but that's not going to be enough to lock down Sap. The Ragnarok gets used. The damage is going to be good, but just off the mark. Sap manages to live through that one, and they pull 3 ults from the other side.
Really impressive play there from Sap. You can't use your relics any better than that. Times his cleanse properly, uses the Aegis at the right time, uses beads as soon as he got picked up by mass kill. That was perfect in how to survive. Now, he is relicless at this point,
yeah.
But Just F6 now has 3 ults down. I'd try and play around this. I think you've got to try and pull gold, punish Just F6 for trying to make that play.
And they're going to try to punish him the best way they can. Gold Fury started up half health already. With Fear No Evil, that's usually your way to counteract any sort of secure on the other side. Rodwin gets aggressive with the taunt. There's going to be the Fear No Evil in the backline. Gets Sodos and Toddy, but not a lot of damage in the return. Instead, it's Sap, along with the burst from Echrome to get rid of Rodwin and make sure that support can't do anything. Sodos, Toddy, still hanging around the area, but the Gold Fury, it's getting low and looking like it's going to be an easy secure for Joystick.
Love that play from Joystick. I think they play that really, really nicely. Just wait, be patient. We've got all this sustain. No reason to rush this. Sarpei maybe could have been a bit more patient with that Fear No Evil, but still finds both backliners, just not particularly grouped up. Does get the beads from Toddy at the very least. And they just know that Sap is there and healthy, and even though he doesn't have relics, what is really going to punish him outside of a rotation from Lystemix, who still has not been able to join this fray? I think that is the key remaining now for Just F6 is getting this Cerberus in there. I feel like I keep saying it, but I keep waiting for him to be there. I think that was a really good opportunity. The Hell doesn't have relics. That Cerberus ult could have been a game changer.
And now, I mean, by the time the next big fight could happen around any of the neutral objectives, at least you'd expect it to be something like a Pyromancer potentially causing that. Fire Giant maybe starting to get online on the board 16 minutes or approaching 16 minutes in. Maybe it's mid lane where the action's going to come through. A lot of damage once again onto Sap just before those relics can come back up, but they're going to keep going. They pick up Calvin. Sarpei has rotated in. Sarpei missing a lot of autos there on Rotwin, trying to figure out where they want to go. Calvin is going to retreat. Mogao has made a rotation, but it doesn't seem like Joystick want to fight.
And that's a good example of all that mobility from Just F6. I mean, Sap is not too far out of his tower line, but far enough. And it's an easy engage there from Rotwin. Doesn't even need to use the blink. Can just gap close with that ambush. Knows that the beads are still down from Sap. And it just tosses him straight into a Tycho Drums. No shot the Hell can survive without their relics.
And now we'll have to see if Echrome... Yeah, the answer is yes. I was going to say if they can survive. Overwhelmingly, yes. They're not too worried about it. They're just outside their tower line, trying to take down the Scorpion, and will be able to do so, at least inside the lane, get a little bit of farm. Still about a level and a half down from where Toddy was. Has not necessarily recovered fully from that early deficit. But this is where things are getting a little more awkward. I mean, I look in the jungle, there's a 3-level difference. Sarpei leading over Mast Kill. And outside of like a little bit of experience in mid and in duo, for the most part, Joystick aren't really that far out of this.
No, Joystick's still in a very good position in this game. Their backline is in a strong enough spot. I mean, Echrome 0-3, but not too far behind Toddy. Even in net worth, he's only down like 200 gold. So not really a concern for him in that lane. In the mid lane, yes, Sodos has more farm than Sap by a good 600 gold, but that's not the end of the world for the Hell. This is within the standard deviation, if you will, for being able to just be an absolute nuts character in this game.
Well, Joystick get the Pyromancer this time around. Just F6 have 4 people standing here, but they're not able to get close enough. So Gold Fury, now Pyromancer. I'd said this before after the initial Pyromancer, but this is the first time I think either of these teams has actually gotten 1,000 gold in the lead. And even still, it's not hovering over 1,000 gold long enough. Mastkill jumps in, is going for Sap. Beads are there, but Sap might not need to use them. Goes in. Fear No Evil from Sarpé is going to help turn this around. A lot of damage shots were thrown into Mastkill. Sarpé is able to pick that one up, and now Calvin forces the rest of the team onto the retreat. You're going to get some healing if you're Sap because you're Hell, and they're going to be able to get aggressive into the tier 1 on mid.
Worst case scenario there for Just F6. They just go a little bit too deep.
Oh, Lestimics gets plucked back. Maybe not the prime target for you. Rotwin, though, goes in, trying to get damage done. Sap is so low, and Lestimics is the one who's able to pick it up. You had mentioned that they needed this Cerberus for the Hell, and it seems to have worked out.
Yeah, look how easy that was, Gore. That's pretty simple there for Just F6, huh? I mean, we've got so much anti-heal from the Cerberus passive, plus Tainted Steel. We just gun down the Hell, and we melee Ranger, and all of a sudden, what is she really supposed to do? Stygian Torment, no beads. See ya. It's just that simple for Just F6. Lestemics easily making an impact on their first rotation in. Time to stay with these fights now. No reason to go back to solo lane.
Yeah, I mean, you've already showcased the impact. The impact in dual lane might be impactful. Well, I said impact way too many times there. Ekrom's going to get out, and that's fine because he doesn't have to worry about too much. Maintains the ultimate. Same thing can be said for Toddy, as well as both relics. That's something that hasn't been going well in mid. Every single time I feel like I look at Sap's cooldowns, they're well over a minute each and every time. I think 30 seconds was the last time I saw Mastkill go for the ult, then unfortunately had to use him again. Ekrom has been feeling a lot safer after those first 3 ganks, although now that might be changing. Toddy going to get aggressive. Ekrom trying to get through the Bifrost, will make it out, but is it going to be far enough? The ult from Toddy gets the damage, but not enough to find the kill, and the distance is just too great. Ekrom's going to be fine.
Yeah, Rotwin's had a really good game on this Circuit so far. I mean, 0-3 and 4 isn't exactly the sexiest scoreline, but the pressure on the backline relics has been really consistent.
Well, can you turn that into an 0-4 and 4? And the answer is yes. Sarpé uses the Fear No Evil, commits a lot, as well as their life. Sarpé traded out for Rotwin. Mastkill picks up Sap, and guess who's here? It's Lestimics. They're going to burn down the healer like nothing. Calvin to follow afterward, and a Primal Fury for their prize.
And really easy bait there from Rotwin. The plan all along, of course, is to get Sarpé to follow you with that Sacred Monkey Toss and pull him right into the teeth of the team. Just F6 just playing really well as a unit, and I think that it's really a credit to their composition as well that they've been able to execute on. I've been very impressed with this comp, and they've been playing it perfectly.
And bouncing back and forth, despite all of the leads that have gone the way of Joystick or to Just F6, these last couple of fights have been very overwhelmingly in favor of Just F6. In fact, they might even be able to find more. Ekrom isolated on the side, trying to use the Bifrost. Will manage to escape, but should cost the tier 1 tower. And honestly, might not be too much out of the water just yet. Will manage to survive, stay alive, even drop the red buff and get some experience. But this is not the spot you want to be in if you're Joystick.
Certainly not. Now is where it starts to feel like, hey, we might actually be in trouble, even with our Hell comp. That being said, if I'm on Joystick, I'm looking at the gold. I'm looking at my relic situation. If I'm Sap, I'm going, hey, we're okay. Like, you know, we're not down by that much. Yeah, we're down on XP, but Sarpé's huge. We can play around him. We can really easily still get into this game and find a victory.
The standard Circuit play. I'm going to stay stealthed in mid until something can happen and jump in onto Sarpé, throw them back, use the... Oh, but there is the Fear No Evil. A little bit of CC immunity from Mastkill, but it's not going to be enough. Ekrom on the left-hand side gets a solo kill onto Toddy, and now Mastkill is getting chased down. Calvin not able to find the pluck. And it looks like that's going to be a retreat from Just F6. The biggest thing being the kill for Ekrom.
Big kill for Ekrom, and he never went back to base, I don't think. I think that he just life stole up and used that pressure on that left-hand side. Even got Toddy's beads, but this time just had a little bit too much damage. He kept trying for that solo kill earlier. Finally got it.
Lestimics made a rotation over to the duo lane. That does mean that it's a little safer in mid for someone like Sap, who's currently taking the tier 2 tower. Going to be just fine with that, healing up his team. They're going to knock that one down. In fact, they're going to get aggressive. Mastkill plucked back into the masses. Going to be able to pick it up is Calvin. And then the jump in from Sarpé. They're looking for Rotwin on top of it. 3 already dead. Still dead is Toddy. And they're putting some pressure onto the Phoenix, at least looking for Lestimics. They're going to lock him down in the middle of everyone. But this is one tanky dog. And they're not able to burn through him nor the Phoenix fast enough, but they're still committing.
So looking for him, down to half HP, no ult, but a good ult from Rotwin finds Sap.
That's going to throw him right back in. Toddy just now respawned. Sap at half health, has to use the Aegis beads. They're still down. The healing's going to be good. Fear No Evil gets used, and it peels off Listimics the kill off Rotwin finally, and they're looking to burn down the solo laner one more time. This time, though, Listimics again will escape, and now the pressure's back onto the Phoenix. They're going to be able to take it sans Fire Giant.
Without needed. And can they actually go for this is risky. I don't know if I like this call here.
Respawns are coming up soon. Sodos and Maskill will be here. Listimics is getting burned down much faster this time. Will find the leap away. The Titans at 3/4 HP, but I think they agree with you. Maskill's back, and Sodos is not far behind. In fact, they're going to have to worry about it. Sap gets pulled in, didn't have the relic. Sap gets burned down for the overcommit, and now it's the Taiko drums on the other side. Echrome is just one hit away. Sodos picks up 2, and they're going to continue chasing them down. Mogao has no health to work with. Calvin falling back. Sarpé managed to live, and so they're going to have some sort of defense on the other side, as well as 5 towers still standing. Maybe biting off more than they can chew.
Yeah, didn't like that call at all there from Joystick. I mean, Maskill was up in 10 seconds. Felt like that one was definitely not going to be in their favor. And then Sap kind of goes back in after Maskill goes in the Ragnarok, and I thought that he was trying to sack himself because he had beads.
Ooh, a very early engage from Sarpé onto the Fire Giant. 5 members of Just F6. Oh, now that Fear No Evil is gone, so your fighting potential has really become limited in terms of whether you can jump in. Rotwin's half health, and it seems like Calvin wants to take advantage of that, but Calvin's going to get ulted into the rest of the team. They're still DPSing the Fire Giant. Just F6 are going to be able to pick that one up, no problem. Sarpé nowhere to be found, and that's 5 members strong now, plus a Pyromancer for Just F6.
Well, you see the idea behind Joystick's comp is, in any Hell composition, is if we get one pick, it's really easy for us to just keep going and keep going and keep going, and we just become this unstoppable force in mid where Just F6 is conveyor belting into us, and we just kill one person, we get a little low, we heal up, we kill the next person, get a little low, we heal back up, and it's very easy to lose control of the game quickly if you're up against a Hell. But Just F6 really take advantage of the overstay by Joystick. They go straight to fire, which was smart. And now you've got a pretty big upgrade here with the Tainted upgrade into the breastplate from Listemics. So now that anti-heal becomes even better for him out of the solo lane.
And look at that dip. After that tier 2 in mid, as well as the Phoenix, I mean, that's something still worth mentioning. But there's so much gold that is now shifted directly in favor of Just F6, and there's still 5 towers standing on the other side. They're going to be able to swing this gold lead pretty heavily in their favor. Primal Fury just now respawns as well. A lot on the map for them to take on. And it looks like they might be falling back, at least swarming the Primal Fury at the minimum, maybe trying to catch out Echrome, but we can see he's going to be able to get out of there just in time.
Just barely in time. So now with a Primal Fury, this does make the next Fire Giant a little bit easier for Just F6, and I think we are in next Fire Giant territory for sure. I mean, you're not going to be ending the game unless something goes really well for you on these next few tower sieges. The question is, if you're Joystick, do you defend on your towers? Are you interested in giving up free gold to a Just F6 team that you are even with just because they've got 5 members of fire? I say just because, but that is a very big deal. Look at this, Joystick trying to set a trap.
Yeah, it's not just will they defend on their tower line. They're not even thinking about defending their tower line. They're getting aggressive. I mean, Echrome was trying to push up left. They push up minions and right. They're going for camp strips at this point and making sure that a lot of the experience and at least the timer for that FG burns down for Just F6 without them able to find much. So far, it has been the Primal Fury, the Pyromancer, and the Tier 1 in mid. That is all they've been able to scoop up so far. So defense seems like it's going to be pretty easy for them. Relic count is the other big deal for me. We're looking at Joystick. They actually have them this time, which is going to be a huge deal in the next fight.
Especially with all the CC that Just F6 has. And this time, this is going to be our first full 5-on-5. Echrome got that solo kill on left while the rest of the team was pushing mid. They haven't had a full 5-on-5 quite yet. And having Echrome there to help peel for Sap, just by way of damage, but also his CC, is going to be pretty critical. But if you're Echrome, you also can't stand too close to Sap, because Sap is going to be on the receiving end of the Circuit initiation, the Fenrir initiation, the Cerberus initiation. All of that is going to be looking for the Hell. So I'm looking for how well Echrome and Sap position close enough to help each other, but not so close they get hit.
Well, will they defend Tier 2s was the question. Calvin is answering with yes. There's going to be a big
Wow.
four-man Fear No Evil in the back. Toddy is incredibly low, but it's Sotos on the front line who's going to be the first to fall. Mid laner down. Rotwin isolated and locked up. That's going to be another kill. No, not quite, as he gets sent through the realms. There it is. Sarpe picking him up on impact. And now they're looking to run straight down mid. That Phoenix just now respawned, but it's weakened, which means they could be able to knock it down again.
I think Sotos spammed Beads and Aegis at the same time, and then when his Aegis expired, Fear No Evil was still happening, and so he just got re-feared and didn't get a chance to jump away at all. Just got one-shot by a beautiful initiation.
Oh, now the initiation's gone to Listimics. A good pluck and good damage follow-through from the rest of the team. They're able to get a little bit. Last kill goes into the Ragnarok. Eats way more than he bargained for, and the damage is going to be good. With 3 members down, 15 seconds left for the mid and your support, and another kill here on to Toddy. They're looking to run down into the Titan room. Listimics is forced to fall back under the fountain. This is going to be Joystick taking the win and taking game number 1.
Look, mass kill in their debut game in the jungle, very impactful in the early stages. Did a lot of great work for just F6. And then you come to the veteran Sarpe on the other side, who just finds as good of a Fear No Evil as you will ever find on that Tier 2. Not very good ward coverage from just F6. Didn't see him coming, and he really wins the game there for Joystick. So impressive stuff from that Hunbatsu. We kept saying, he's farming for late. He's farming for late. That's why, because he can do stuff like that.
All you have to do is sit around, wait till you hit 5, and then from 5 it was wait until you hit 10, and then wait until you hit 15. And eventually we started seeing the impact from him. It was a big one there at the very end, but we're going to break down game number 1, move into game number 2 right after this break.
Never
Well, the long back and forth finally got ended at the very end there by Joystick, and specifically by Sarpay finding a fantastic Fear No Evil onto 4 members there. Joystick are now up 1-0 in the set, but despite how good they looked in a lot of those fights, there were also a lot of great moments, aggro, for Just F6.
Just F6 did a lot of things very well in this game. They controlled the pace early. They continually put pressure on a sap in that mid lane. They did not let this hell have a free game by any stretch of the imagination. Just a couple of small misplays here and there, which has really been the story of the year so far for this squad. I think otherwise did a lot of things very well.
Yeah, a lot that was turned around. I mean, their first kill was onto Maskill, who we had mentioned had a very solid game. But Sarpay is the one in a lot of these highlights that really catches my eye, just because there were so many moments where, you know, hell healing is very helpful for them. The damage from Echrome was absolutely nuts in a lot of these engagements. But where Sarpay put that pressure, I think really helped find them a lot more turnaround than they had maybe bargained for. In fact, there was a certain point where when we stopped seeing Sarpay have that impact, we started seeing Just F6 have a much more massive monumental win, but it was this play that really helped end everything. In fact, did end everything.
It ended everything quickly. Just instantly killed Sodos pretty much off the back of this, and then the game becomes much more simplified. You don't have a Raijin to worry about. We can just kill them one by one as they go in. That ult right there from Mogal was really nice to block off the pickup and take away there for mass kill. So impressive stuff from Joystick, as per usual. We've been saying it about it a lot. A
lot of pressure. Echrome was at 1.03-0, ends the game 4-4-3. But I think I saw it was 7-1, maybe it was 6-1 there. Almost 21,000 damage from Sarpay, because all of the pressure really got put onto Sap. Sap had to carry a lot of weight that game. Not in the sense that it was, oh, I'm going to go 8-1 and carry everything, but just because he was the lightning rod. Everybody wanted to kill Sap, and they did so successfully a lot of the times.
That's an underrated part of playing the central focus of a composition that's going to continue to get dove is, can you prevent the other team from getting golden experience off you by killing you a whole lot? I mean, he died, what, 7 times in that game, so certainly didn't stay completely clean, but still managed to survive ganks that he probably should have died to.
Yeah.
And maybe, you know, if Sodos gets a little bit ahead, if Rotwin gets a little bit more ahead, gets a little bit tankier earlier, things could have changed pretty quickly in that game. So Sap certainly deserves some credit there.
And there was a beautiful play in mid. Look, we joked about it at one point in game where it was like, man, every time we come back to him, it feels like the beads and Aegis are down. But there was one string where it was like a cleanse into a beads into an Aegis that just perfectly kept him alive in that regard. Again, with 7 deaths, it was 1 in, I guess, 8 overall.
Sure.
It was able to accomplish that. Picks and bans for game number 2. Joystick, once again, going to be first pick. And this is where things get a little more interesting for Just F6. They had banned, like, Odin, the RDO, but, you know, Heimdall, I had mentioned, is a big ban, or at least has in the past been a big ban against Joystick. It has also been kind of oppressive looking at that Hell. That was their first pick. And despite the fact that it died so much, still provided a lot of healing and damage.
Still provided a lot of healing, and clearly Just F6 came in with a game plan that we're going to neutralize this Hell.
Yeah.
And even with that game plan, it did not end up working. So I think that either Just F6 needs to redouble their efforts, let the Hell stay open. In particular, I think Listemics may have finished that game like 3-0. That's not usually a good sign for your frontliner to lose a game without a death. It means that they probably could have tried to create a little bit more space, push the envelope a little bit more, be more aggressive at some point. And in particular, if I were if I were Just F6's coach, I would watch that game back and say, like, I think if this Cerberus got involved 1 or 2 fights earlier and then was just consistently in the fights after that, they could have changed the outcome potentially.
Well, Yamojit, Tiamat, Sol, Joystick banned those 3 away. The other side is Osiris, RDO, and Odin. And, well, guess what's coming right back at them? It is going to be this first pick Hell. Last time it was, what, Fenrir? The Cerberus was locked in. Last was going to be that Serket, but they focused as heavily as they could to get Brawlers. They wanted their Raijin for the Divine Ruin. Anything they could to have that anti-heal. And it feels like they're going to run it back. And admittedly, the draft from both squads was really solid. I don't think there's much reason to shift things up. It is just playstyle.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that Just F6, I agree that if they had just done 1 or 2 things differently that game, that the outcome probably changes. That being said, Joystick can also look at how they drafted and go, okay, if they're going to go with this exact same plan, we can change it a little bit. And they do. This was Sobek in that spot instead of the Kabrakan. This time they lock in that Cabrakan early. I think that this might signal to me that they are trying to switch that support pick. They are trying to go with something a little bit more peel-oriented, like, say, a Khepri or a Geb in this instance for Calvin. If I'm just F6, am I willing to switch up my bans and try and keep that out of his hands instead of going with the bans that we went with last
And
time?
immediately they say, yeah, we don't want to deal with the Sobek anymore, and they ban that one away. I'm also curious to see what Joystick is going to ban, because that is, like you said, maybe some of the information for them, recognizing that, well, we've already got the Fenrir, Cerberus, Raijin. Those were 3 big problems before, but so was Rotwin on this Circuit. So let's ban that one away, and that means both supports are going to have to change their style. Camazotz, I believe it was Kumbhakarna up there instead of Sobek last time. So Camazotz still going to be remaining as the ban for just F6. And then one more for Joystick. Goes right back to the Artemis. Just a matchup flavor, I think, overall for Joystick and their Hunter.
I mean, Toddy played well on the Hachiman, so the fact that he gets to go back to that here, it feels pretty good. Looks like he's hovering. He's an Ami, which would still be a solid pick. It gets you a little bit more pressure in that duo lane. Don't know how well that matches up against the Heimdall, though, because, of course, the stealth doesn't really affect Heimdall at all. Can see you with use of the 1, so that scares me a little bit in that duo lane for Toddy, but
hey,
anytime Echrome gets this Heimdall pick, I'm pretty scared.
And this is something we were talking about last game, and it didn't happen, but now we can double down on it. The Khepri Hell combination. We had talked a lot about Calvin's Khepri in the picks and bans for game number 1 as something they could go to. With the Sobek locked in, it was kind of up in the air as to whether it was going to happen. Loki as well locked in aside that. Someone that's really good making sure to get to the backline. Izanami and Raijin are going to have some struggles. Not only all that, but the Hell healing as well as Khepri Res makes things even more tumultuous in the late game.
I like this Ymir pick. I mean, I was going to say just F6 clearly needed to do a little bit more homework to get caught off guard by Hell and Khepri is not a great look because we've seen Joystick run this exact style of composition before. So we know that they're going to do it. It's just logical if the Sobek's off the board, this is the next pickup. And it feels like they're a little underprepared, that it's still all in to kill this Hell, and now there's a Khepri ultimate that we have to worry about. But I think this Ymir pick does sway me a little bit more back towards just F6. I think that you look at what you see on the other side. I mean, Loki needs to use ultimate to get over that Ymir wall. Khepri has no options. Hell has no options. Cabrakan has no options. I like the Ymir pick a lot here for Rotwin, but I think it's just so much harder to execute than being Calvin, who just gets to stare at Sap through the entire game and wait to press 4 until he's almost dead. Like, that's his only job in this game, is to do that. And if just F6's whole game plan is all into Hell and we have to kill her, and then she gets Khepri ulted and reses, then they've lost. I don't see how it's very easy for them to come back from that.
As you mentioned, game 2 here for Joystick, now leading 1-0 up just F6, fighting for second place. Still worth mentioning, because if they get this, they'll have more or less secured it, at least for this week. And the next week, it brings up a whole other side of problems. There is a good use of the Bifrost. That's always an interesting play that no other Hunter, I think, can really make, although it does mean we know exactly where Echrome is in terms of level as of right now, or at least with abilities level. Still hits level 2 first, thanks to being there for the purple buff. And that is going to be a nice early clear for Joystick. Early on last game, it was back and forth. I think actually the respawns for red and purple are where my eyes are at more in the next few minutes because those were stolen away by Just F6 in game 1.
Definitely have to be a little bit more on top of that. They also died at level 2 in the last game. And this time, look at where Sap is on the wave, all the way at the back.
And we have a little bit of aggression. Rotwin moves forward and at least peels them away from their own Harpy and pushes the wave under the tower. It's not going to be a kill, but you're still getting at least some sort of pressure over here if you're just F6. And that means keep your eyes on Mast Kill. And, well, of course you call it, jumps in, gets the stun, gets the mez, but the healing seems to be good. Sarpei is getting a little bit of damage, but is eating a lot in the process. Sap controlling where everyone can go. There's the jump in. Mass kill gets first blood, but it looks like the return might be there. It will be thanks to the minions. Sap gets a double kill, but it does cost them their life.
Still very well worth it for Mass Kill. I mean, I'm just so surprised that Joystick is willing to step up and contest mid-harpies. You have to go to mids first. You can't just try and out-pressure the wave because you won't win the wave clear battle up against just F6. And then if you did, it sucks to lose both mid-harpies. but it's better than getting double killed by the enemy jungler. Like, you got to pick your battles. And again, Joystick make the same mistake in back-to-back games.
Well, there's a wall freeze combo. Slow now down onto Calvin. Half health. Toddy's getting a lot of good damage in there. A lot of good licks in the shots. But it's going to be Sarpei's rotation that makes things a little more interesting. Blink forward. Going for the damage. Trying to connect anything and everything. Not going to be able to find the kill onto Toddy. Not looking like they'll find the kill onto Rot. What a good root coming down from Calvin. Make sure they maintain this, but Calvin is incredibly low. Sarpei lucky enough to pick up the kill before his support can fall down. Toddy overstays their welcome. Sarpei will fall once again, but this time picking up 2.
Hey, worth it for him there. Both junglers with some all-ins for some double kills, and it's worth it. But look at where Maskill is. He's helping invade blue. He invades speed. This is a really nice play from Maskill to recognize that Sarpei was still over in duo and that his whole right side jungle is now going to be invaded. So smart play from Maskill, but love the way the Joystick played that dual lane engagement. Calvin baits as long as he can, backs out, that pulls just F6 all the way up. Then a re-engage, blink root, and then cancels the abduct a little bit early because he knows he's taking too much damage from Toddy and jukes Rotwood a little bit on that ice shard. So really, really nicely done from Calvin.
You have to think that Maskill, though, didn't want the blue buff on his belt.
No, probably
not. Maybe not where that was intended to go. But still, stripping away speed feels more than fine, especially to help lock down Sarpei and try to control this Loki a little bit more. 2 junglers, 2 double kills, and then 1 kill elsewhere on the board. It's 3-3. As we're hitting the 3.5-minute mark. They are not slowing down at all, as it turns out, from game number 1. They want to keep the action going. And with the rotations, oh, well, looking like it could have been something big. Sarpei and Sap going to pick up some Oracle Harpies, make sure they maintain some of the neutral objective. There is what I was expecting out of Sarpei. The loop around, at least deep into the jungle, looking for something. It's not going to be able to find a buff over here, so it's got to be a kill there. Up into the sky goes Toddy. Rotwin gets pulled back. This is going to be a good rotation for Sarpei. They're just waiting for him. A great knock-up from Echrome, but Toddy might be out of here. Calvin goes under the tier 1, throws out the 2, does not clip Toddy, does clip Rotwin. Sarpei's hanging around, but not going to be able to find any kills.
Did Sarpei not level his ult at level 5? He doesn't have the diamond at all, which tells me that he doesn't have Assassinate leveled. I think that's got to be what's happened here. No, he did. Okay, so he just used it. Interesting. So I guess he used it to close the gap and didn't end up hitting Toddy with it because I expected him to get that stun.
Well, Mogao gets thrown back by 1 ult, picked up, brought back by another ult. Maskill is going to be able to pick up a 3rd for this game. Sarpei, though, does secure their own blue buff. You have to remember, this entire right side of the jungle was stripped away. They probably know where this Loki is, know where they're going. Maskill and Listimics getting aggressive. Speed buff will get secured by the Order side. I think that's going to be all she wrote. Yeah, Listimics and Maskill backing off on that. We'll still be able to pick up a couple of Harpies and get some experience stripped away, but they're controlling that right-hand side jungle. That's really good presence.
It's now the first death for Mogao, but Maskill again gets his blue down, and Cabrakan definitely not a god that loves to have his blue stolen. I mean, no one does, but it affects some more than others. I feel like Cabrakan definitely will notice not having that blue buff a little bit more than some other Guardians over here in the solo lane. You have Listemics with another big lead, now up about a level and a half over Mogao. Got to make that lead pay off this time around.
And Mogao has once again gone right back to that Bancroft start you had mentioned last time. Not enjoying it just because of the anti... Well, actually, there's no brawlers. That has been turned into a Jotuns this time.
Yeah, but, I mean, Gore, he won with it last time, so it has to be good, right? That's the way it works. He didn't lose because of the build, so it's good.
Definitely didn't hurt as much as it could have, I guess is a good way to look at it as well.
Okay, I'm going to stop my own bit and say I would argue that he won in spite.
In spite of it?
Of the build. That he made it a little bit harder. He just took the hard way around.
Still, I guess late game. I will give him credit because late game it was never Bancrofts. It was always ults. That's what it was. Like Mogao had some amazing ults.
Right.
And your build doesn't matter. Those ults exist whether or not your build matches it.
But yeah, Bancroft does nothing for you. It reminds me of Futurama, like when Kip is trying to tell what's his name?
Zap Brannigan.
Zap Brannigan, yeah, the path to take, and he's like, this path's for little girls. This is a path with some chest hair on it. Like, this is a build with some chest hair on it for Mogo.
But we'll see what it can do here. A good wall from Rotwin right into the ult, but it's not going to be enough to turn the damage around. Healing from Sap as well as a kill onto Sap. They're getting the damage done. Must kill. Picks up Sarpé, and Sap's going to fall down as well, just trying to chase him around. In fact, they're going to be able to pick up Mogao as well. One leap, maybe too far.
Bancroft,
as
baby!
Kill gets taken down. Mogao still alive. The tier 2 tower is going to turn it around. It's a 3 for 2. Still favors Just F6, but maybe not as much as it should have.
Bancroft's talent, all that lifesteal and power as he's getting lower. Mogao turns it around on a mass kill, but Lestevex makes the big play there. A huge Stygian Torment, and you're seeing how much of an impact this Cerberus makes in these groupings and in these team fights. A good amount of anti-heal applied to the entire enemy team, ends up stealing some of it for himself, and sets up the squad for a huge Tycho drum. Sodos in perfect position to capitalize on that play. Love that aggressiveness from Just F6, continuing to push the lane there ahead, which is this right-hand side.
As long as they, I mean, you had mentioned capitalizing on it. As long as they keep up that amount of pressure, that seems to be capitalizing on it. Maybe a little less tier 2 tower diving next time around, but either way, still works out for them. You've got the Divine Ruin online. Mogao might just be dead here. Yeah, everyone's run over here. Good wall from Rotwin. Good ult from Mogao. Wall for wall trade. In fact, with 3 people over in solo, it's a tale as old as time. Go for the Gold Fury. Toddy's over here. Sodos is over here. Sarpé's getting aggressive. Might be a little too aggressive. Forced to ult away. Gold Fury sitting at about half HP. Sodos and Toddy still hanging around. They're not going to back off. There's going to be the Tycho drums. In fact, they're going to pull it over. Just F6 take the Gold Fury away from them, and they're not getting punished for it. In fact, Sarpé throws away his life trying to kill off Toddy, and that is a great turnaround. Sap, now the next one in danger. Masked Kill picks that up. 5-2-2 for the jungle on the Chaos side.
Absolutely huge play for Just F6, and Joystick just try and punish them for having this big rotation over to the right-hand side. And to quote, I'm just going to quote cartoons the whole time for this cast, I've decided. It's like when Plankton is trying to tell SpongeBob how to be a little bit more assertive. And it's, all right, they're over in solo, go to Gold Fury. And they go to Gold Fury. And then, Sarpé, you go zone those guys. And Sarpé goes to zone those guys. And then Plankton tells him, all right, now let him have it. Here you go. Here's the Gold Fury.
You can have it.
Yeah, you can have it. Here it is. You just give it over because the Tycho drums just end up being such a threat, and Calvin just gets too low. You can't stay on this Gold Fury as long as Joystick did, because this is just the only really outcome is that Calvin either dies or gives it up, and those are really the only options. This is a really smart play, though, and heads-up play by Toddy in order to step into the ring, make sure that Gold Fury stays leashed, and can actually be stolen away.
You used me for land development. That's all Sarpé can think after that one. Yeah, not the best case scenario if you're Joystick. Overwhelmingly positive for Just F6. You got a big ult away from Mogao despite not finding the kill on right, and you still managed to get a Gold Fury and find yourselves now 2,200 gold in the lead. 10 minutes in, that's a substantial number.
Yeah, this is enough to continue to put pressure on Joystick. I mean, we kept saying last game that things are going well for Just F6, but not well enough in order to make me feel like they can clearly run away with this game and keep this hell out of it. This is the type of lead that we're talking about, that we're looking for in games like this, and a really good start for them. A huge experience lead in mid in particular, and Sodos is on a character in Raijin that can actually leverage that lead very, very well and continue to be super aggressive.
And a lot of the turnaround potential that we saw in Game 1 was Sarpé, hey, I'm going to hit some sick Fear No Evil. That's going to change everything. There is no sick Fear No Evil here. We'll have to see what Loki can provide. Calvin forced to ult themselves. There's Sarpé, and it's going to help find some damage. Calvin's still alive. Might get out of here. Tycho drums are going to end up falling down. There's a big stun from Sarpé. They're looking to turn this around. Mass Kill is taking some damage. Sap gets aggressive. Calvin pulls him right back in. The healing's going to be good. Rotwin is going to end up punished for that. Echrome was punishing Toddy over in the left-hand lane, forcing them away from this fight. Mass Kill with no mana and barely enough health. He's going to fall back to the mid lane alongside Sodos. Good turnaround from Team Joystick, and it might not be done. They might look for more. At least the purple buff. Maybe Toddy.
Toddy low and no beads.
Sarpé
on the way, but doesn't have his ultimate.
And Sap's over here trying to get aggressive. Sotos is low. Sap has a little bit of damage, not enough to find it, but look right behind him. Guess who's walking forward? It is going to be none other than Mogao. Ult dropped, and he finds the kill. They lost Sarpei on the left-hand side, tried to get aggressive, and ends up costing him his life, even though they still pick up Toddy.
Still picked up Toddy, so 2 for 1, but now Sap has got to die here to Listemics. I mean, no shot. He ends up surviving, and yeah, just an easy paralyzing spit for Listemics. Secures that kill. So 2 for 2 overall. It's a tier 1 tower and left, though, for Joystick, and the gold lead tells a story. It's a little bit smaller now.
You know, technically 3 for 2. Easy to forget about. Rotwin died at the very beginning of that. It feels like so long ago because that engagement lasted from the red buff on the order side to the tier 2 on the chaos side.
I can't believe, I literally cannot believe that Calvin lived through that. That was crazy that he lived. I really don't know how, because he timed his ultimate well, but Rotwin was charging the ult, had it
such
ready.
a well-placed wall, too.
Yeah, it really was. I thought that Just F6 played that engagement well. I don't know if Sotos didn't hit enough with the Tycho drums. That's the only thing I can think that would have allowed Calvin to live.
Maybe one going a little too wide. We'll see what happens here. Mogao picked up by Mastkill. And look, you've got 2 people on top of you, a third on the way. The free's actually going to end up missing there. The beads helping out a little bit. Mogao still takes the damage. Great wall from Rotwin. Helps lock him down. They pick up a kill. And Mastkill needed it. He had no mana to continue that follow-up. And they lock down the solo laner one more time.
Now 3 and 3 for Mogao, but he's just continuing to get a little bit tankier. Obviously, the Bancroft start doesn't lend itself to being tanky off the rip, but has gone for an immediate Stone of Gaia into this fall. So you've got protections now, you've got mitigation, and don't forget about his passive mitigation either.
Definitely a dangerous territory to be in. Speaking of dangerous territory, Echrome maybe getting a little too overzealous. Does get through the Bifrost. Calvin looks like he's going to be just healthy. 5 members right now of Just F6 are on this left-hand side, and the Oni Fury just spawned right back up. Calvin's at half health, and they're continuing to get aggressive onto him. Going to be using the ult, and is going to stay alive, but Sap gets zoned away, so no healing this time. Better wall, and a better kill. Toddy picks that one up, and Echrome ends up having to watch his support fall down. Meanwhile, Sarpei's on the other side getting a tower, which they need something because they're losing the Fury as well.
Losing the Oni Fury. I mean, finally Calvin ends up falling, but that's twice now that Just F6 have all in this Khepri and have needed everything in order to actually kill him. That would concern me if I'm Just F6. I would not feel great about how much we have to invest in order to kill this Khepri.
When he has Thebes and Relic Dagger. Like, not even a lot of prots.
No, he's still getting more later on. So that is certainly a concern now for Just F6, but they continue to stay aggressive. They're punishing these overextensions from Joystick. Calvin really dies for Echrome sins on that play because Echrome is too far up on that left-hand side. That being said, if you're on Joystick side, that's the best Fury you could lose in that situation is Oni Fury. This is where Oni Fury gets the least amount of value. It is in close games where a team will not have time or resources to instantly back and put pressure on something like a Fire Giant with the use of these Oni waves. I mean, only one tier 2 gone or tier 1 gone for Joystick, and that's in solo lane. Very easy for them to spread out and farm these Oni waves, and it's less golden experience than a gold Fury, so it's really not too bad.
And it keeps them a little bit closer. And you had mentioned it, 2,200 at 10 minutes, 2,500 now lead for Just F6, maybe pushing it a little further. Echrome, oh, what a beautiful wall to block off the dash. Echrome gets caught out and will get killed here, but did they bite off more than they can chew? Sarpei helps turn it around. Calvin, credit for the kill onto Toddy, so Hunter for Hunter so far. Sap gets rezzed by Khepri, but is it into a worse spot than it could have been? Calvin pulls him right back behind the team. 2 for 1, maybe looking to be a 3 for 1 here. Calvin locked down, stunned down by Mastkill. Last hit goes to the jungler. 7-2 for the Fenrir.
Man, what a performance and their debut as well here for Mastkill. Just playing so well on this Fenrir. Look, 7-2-5 is a crazy stat line, but we're not, it's not unheard of to get off to good leads on Fenrir and control the pace of the game. But to be top player damage on this pick, I think, is something we don't see very often.
Yeah.
They have been everywhere. Just have not stopped and have been continually putting pressure on every member of Joystick. Very, very impressed with Masskill's debut.
And they get a good tier 2 in mid as well. Plus, should be, yeah, with the minions there, that tier 1 over in left. So a lot of towers that are falling. There is that beautiful wall. Just right as the dash would have been through there as well. I mean, Echrome, if he makes it out of there, is at least going to live through the engagement. Maybe turns around and gets some damage for his team, but realistically, you're just looking at one less kill for Just F6. So great from Rotwin. This Ymir pick has pivoted everything around.
It has, and like I said, it needed to do a lot with these walls in order to justify giving up the Khepri Hell combo. And I think so far Rotwin has really delivered on that.
Well, now we'll see what they can capitalize on. Sap maybe juking the wrong direction this time around. Another good wall. You don't have a leap. You're going to get locked down. Sodos is going to find the kill credit onto Sap. Pyromancer is just about to spawn. Just as 6 happen to have a grouping over here on the right-hand side. And honestly, we're starting to approach Fire Giant territory if you're talking about it. With this kind of lead, 18 minutes in, feels pretty good for Just F6.
And I was talking earlier about Sodos on this Raijin. He gets blinked on by Sarpei.
Yeah, the jump in for Sodos will be able to get out. That's that Thunder Crash. Sarpei, well, is gonna be saved here thanks to Calvin, luckily for them. But Calvin has to use the beads because of the ult from Mast Kill. Still trying to walk away. The peel is not quite good enough just yet. In fact, Sarpei ends up overstaying their welcome. The ult all for naught. Calvin gets that one burned away. Most of his health and mana burned out. It is going to be the safety, maybe the only play that could be made. Echrome trying to save something.
Calvin just played that so well, though. I mean, uses the ultimate, gets the revive, of course, onto Sarpei, but then Sarpei is about to get Ragnaroked, and he has no beads, and Calvin steps in front of the hitbox in order to be the one to get picked up because he has beads and could still potentially survive. Now, it doesn't really matter because he ends up Sarpei ends up dying anyways.
That is the unfortunate scenario to be in. And, well, speaking of unfortunate scenario, there's Sap once again ending up taken down. This is very similar to last time. Hey, you remember the 7 deaths in the column. It's 14 total now in this set. But Aggro, this is where things get really weird. This is a great composition. They're playing it really well for Just F6. The map state's favoring them, but they've been met mostly equal in a lot of the pressure. At least when I look at the tier 1 in mid, it's relatively low. Tier 2 and left, it does still feel like Just F6 are just on the cusp. Even with, what is it, 6,000 gold? Maybe I'm overstepping it, but like Joystick, especially with a Hell and a Khepri, all they need is one really good late game fight.
All they need is one, but this is a good start now for Just F6 to make sure that doesn't happen. Fire pull.
Mogao blinks forward, doesn't necessarily use anything, gets eyes on the Fire Giant. Fire Giant's still low. They're chasing down Mogao. Good walls, separate the team. Just F6 leave him at about 1/3 HP. Calvin's making a rotation in, but it doesn't look like it's going to be fast enough. Just F6 are going to be able to get the FG. Tier 2 answered on left. Echrome picking up at least one of these towers to help make sure the gold lead doesn't completely favor them. And it's starting to feel a little reminiscent of the last game when they get the Just F6 FG. Feels like a great play, but Joystick did a great job of limiting what they were able to do.
Still able to get a little bit back for Joystick for sure, but this is a much bigger lead than Just F6 had when they got the last Fire Giant. The last Fire Giant in Game 1, the game was totally even, and FG was the separator. There's already a 4,700 gold difference, a 2,500 experience difference, and now the FG on that winning side. So I like Just F6's position significantly more than I did in Game 1. I think that as long as they play their cards right, as long as they make sure to be on the same page, not overextend one at a time, use these Ymir walls, though it does get harder to do those whenever you're on a Phoenix Siege as opposed to fighting in the jungle. I think Just F6 should have this game.
And so far, the walls, like you said, have been on point, but it gets a little more difficult. Tier 2 and left going to get taken down. Mogao was pushing up in the wave on right. Sap just pushed up the wave in mid. Might be able to get the Tier 2 tower, but it's the defense on the left-hand Phoenix that is going to be a little more interesting. Map state is going to be drastically different here at the end of this. And it's going to be up to this engage. There's a good freeze starting things off for Rotwin. They're getting aggressive, but look, Rotwin's eating too much damage. Sarpei waiting for the loop around. Might be able to find the kill, but Mass Kill's half health. Toddy, Sodos untouched as of right now. Good stun from Lestimics, but that Phoenix still standing. Calvin maybe trying to get aggressive. All of Joystick are moving forward, but it doesn't look like they're going to be able to catch up.
I mean, that's 2 minutes into this Fire Giant now, Gore, and 0 kills for Just F6. 1 Primal Fury is the difference maker so far. Great defense by Joystick. Good cleanse from Sap off that initiation. And I think Rotwin just can't really be the first one in. Just too immobile on this Ymir. Doesn't have the blink to get in and then use mobility like, say, a Cerberus leap or a Fenrir leap in order to get out. And the game becomes more difficult up against a Hell on these Phoenix Sieges because you're not able to spread out the team, to spread your CC over the course of a big jungle team fight. Instead, Sap can easily see, oh, this guy's frozen, cleanse them. Oh, this guy's about to get picked up by Ragnarok, cleanse them. It is much easier to execute.
Yeah, when Ymir just kind of saunters forward, much like we're seeing now, it's pretty easy to predict where things are going to go, huh? You know exactly what that kid is capable of, and it seems like they're going to slow that down. Pressure potentially onto a Tier 2 tower over here. All members of Just F6 grouping up. Mogao, Calvin, the only two standing around, whereas E-Chrome's on the left-hand side just got purple buff. Sarpei's putting some pressure onto a Tier 2 in mid. They're going to be falling back. The ult used from Calvin very early in this engagement. Going to get some movement speed from Mogao, and they're going to retreat onto the right-hand Phoenix.
Yeah, Calvin tried to use it as a cleanse, but Mogao's got to communicate that he has beads, that he's okay. Not having Scarab's Blessing is huge.
And now that might end up costing them a little bit. A good aggression comes through, but the damage is getting turned around. E-Chrome manages to stay alive. Listimix is low, but Sap is burned down. Listimix one more hit, but he's going to be able to maintain that, get out of the Phoenix. Mogao is low. A good wall actually ends up hurting the team. Just F6. Watch as they walk away. They get the kill, they get the bird, and they back off.
Yeah, that time from Joystick, not having Scarab's Blessing, obviously a huge deal in that moment. But I thought E-Chrome and Sap were just too close together. They get hit by the same Unchained leap in from Maskill, and it was a good cleanse from Sap to make sure that it doesn't end up stunning, but they both took damage, they're both grouped up, and it means that they've got to split in awkward ways quickly in order to not get destroyed by Taiko drums. But Sotos had his eyes on the prize that whole time, focused on hitting the hell in particular. Like the way he played that.
Well, Pyromancer ends up getting taken down here. Mogao getting chased down. There's the Ragnarok, no beads. This should be a kill onto the solo laner. Good news, though, is that in the 55 seconds it's going to take him to respawn, that's right around the time the FG should come back. I think Mogao maybe even throwing up a surrender vote there after that death. This is the spot for Just F6. I mean, 21 kills to 10. They've got 8,000 gold on the board. They're looking to pressure a mid-Phoenix.
No Fire Giant on them, though, and that's important. Going to take them longer than it took on the right.
Now, Rodwin comes in, is already half HP, and you see Maskill jump in maybe too deep. Sap looking for some damage. Sarpei finds a big kill onto Sotos in the backline.
Nice
there
res.
is going to be the res from Calvin, and E-Chrome picks up Rodwin. This is a great turnaround for him. They find 3 in the process and are going to start running right down the mid lane. Fire Giant is about to respawn, but there's Tier 2s available. It feels like this is Joystick going for the neutral objective.
Yeah, Joystick not going to try and end right away, but a great turnaround. Calvin, again, I think plays this fight just so well. He's looking at Sap, looking at Sap, looking at Sap, and then hears that Sarpei is in trouble, instantly whips and is able to find him with that Scarab's Blessing. And Sarpei, again, just has these natural instincts in these late-game fights, continues to look really good in these 5-on-5s on these high-pressure situations, ends up getting a clean kill.
Listimix is around. Okay, Listimix isn't going to be able to get in there in time. Looked like it was territory for a steal. And now he's actually forced to run away. The vision's going to be there. Chrome trying to go over the wall. Instead, it's going to be Sarpei looking for the damage. A lot of it in the process. Listimix is forced out. This Tier 2 tower should fall pretty quickly as the full grouping from Joystick happens on the right-hand side, and it's exactly what we said earlier. Sometimes when you're playing up against the Hell and you're playing up against specifically this Khepri, apparently, all it takes is one good fight, and Khepri and Calvin have been able to provide that ample amount of times.
It's got to be frustrating at this point if you're Just F6, because you've done so much so well in this set, and it's just little mistake here and little mistake there that end up really punishing you and end up being the difference maker in these games. Now, it's not over by any stretch.
No, not at all.
This game is still winnable for Just F6 in every sense of the word. They only need to win a team fight. And it looks like they're trying to set up a little ambush on this right side jungle. This would give them easy access to the Titan if they win it.
Yeah, they have to recognize that these fire minions really causing trouble. Someone usually is going to be the one pushing forward. E-Chrome is completely out of this engagement if they do decide to go in. All of them sitting around the speed buff. Sarpei, you can't quite see it, maybe spots it over the wall there. More than happy that they picked that up right before this team got there. And so they're going to start walking down the mid lane. Should be visible here. Maskill will get eyes. He's going to blink forward, a leap, not going to find any stuns. The Ragnarok not finding anybody yet as well, and that's going to be a lot of return damage. Ult from Mogao gets a good lockdown, but
nice
it's the freeze instead from Rotwin, plus the wall to lock down Calvin. Sarpei makes it out. Sap looping around into the backline, not exactly where you expect to see the Hell, and he's going to be going in, gets some good damage, but eats a lot in the process. Mogao goes deep, Toddy is low, and E-Chrome and Mogauer going to pick up the kills. Rotwin is the next to fall. Lastimic's right afterward. Mass kills just one hit, and Calvin is going to secure that one for the DSI. They're going to run it down mid and take game number 2 in the set.
Like the idea from just F6, but you want to try and get an uneven fight whenever you're setting this ambush. It's not good enough to just surprise them. You've got to surprise them and then have the numbers advantage on your side, and they didn't have the numbers advantage. That's just a 5-on-5 up against a team with Fire Giant that you've got to try and win in an honest manner, and Joystick's Fire Giant makes a huge difference there. They focus Calvin a little bit too much, and this Kepri's just able to absorb all those cooldowns, res himself, and then just F6 is up the creek, and they've lost their paddle. Impressive play from Joystick in this one, as well as just F6. I think that was a particularly fun set to watch.
Yeah.
It just ended up with Joystick being able to punish these just F6 mistakes.
And that is, you know what? I'm going to throw it out there. That feels a lot like what was going wrong with them in Phase 1 as well. Different players at the time, but it was a lot of, hey, they're really good, they're doing really well, they're doing really well. A couple of mistakes and fumbles in the late game, and all of a sudden things pivot, and it comes down to that mid-Phoenix, when everything really started to fall apart. Calvin makes some good plays there, and it just continued on for Joystick.
Look, I mean, the EU SCC is full of really, really good teams and good players at this point, and they will punish you for making these small mistakes. You know, just F6 a year ago, 2 years ago, these small mistakes don't really punish them. They're sitting pretty in the standings. But as it stands, you're now still with 1 win after a pretty solid set. I think that overall, you've got to be pretty happy with how you played today. Mass kills first set, played great, made a couple of mistakes, but that's okay. You know, that's part of the learning process. I'm impressed with this Just F6 team. It's a shame that they don't find the win.
Yeah, unfortunate for them, but hey, luckily Joystick have now found themselves a 2-0, exactly what they were looking for. We'll break that down as well as look at the schedule, the standings, and all that good stuff for the SCC right after this. Well, despite a very controlling game number 2 from Just F6, Team Joystick are able to turn around a mid-Phoenix, pick up a Fire Giant, and then turn it around again, but this time around the mid-tier 2, or at least where it once stood, and find themselves a big victory. Joystick with the 2-0 look really solid, but it's an interesting one, Aggro, because you have not necessarily like the best performance. Like Sarpé is a couple of misses, a couple of hits throughout a lot of those plays. Calvin is a huge saving grace for this team. Between that and the hell, it was just too much to overcome.
Yeah, and look, as much as I hated Mogau's build, he also put in quite a bit of work in this game. Had some really good ultimates, was able to create space. Echrome, as per usual on the Heimdall. This Joystick team, that's what we were talking about at the very top, is that it's not just one all-star who's trying to out-carry adapting and trick-stang on Elysium, right? It's this whole team really works very well together. They do a lot of things very well as a unit. They play a little bit of a different style. You know, that not many people go in Bancroft's talent Cabrakan solo, but ends up working for the squad yet again.
And it's actually, that res right there. Sarpé kills off Sotos and then manages to stay alive through all of that. Doesn't matter that you had lost Mogao prior to that fight. It felt very, very solid and controlling. And then this pickup was just massive for this team. I mean, you get Echrome. I said it in game number 1. I'll say it again, but Echrome on Heimdall is just too big of a threat in my mind.
Yeah.
And it makes sense why when you go back in time, you look at teams playing Echrome, they've had to ban and have chosen to ban this Heimdall in the top 3 to make sure that they're at least on something slightly less comfortable. They ended up going 4-1-8 there. 6-6-10, but really it's the 2-2-13 that I think is standing out the most to me. Calvin plays amazingly that game. And it's also, what was that, 2-8 for Sap? Sap got sat on 2 games in a row. That can't feel good.
No, but hey, that's sometimes the win condition, right, is being able to just get in there and absorb those cooldowns, be there in the right moments. The flank hell in that last team fight that won it for him, I guess, was the right call because they ended up winning.
What are you doing over there?
Yeah, the backline assassin hell, as per usual, like we're used to seeing, Gore, of course.
Yeah.
But all jokes aside, the way that this team plays in their mid 3v3, I mean, Sarpé, Sap, and Calvin really working well together.
Yeah.
And Echrome, of course, on that Heimdall, always a total threat.
We'll give shout-outs, though, over to Mastkill because this was their first set that they've played in the SCC.
Very impressive.
And they looked amazing in the jungle. So really looking forward to what Just F6 is going to be able to provide in the weeks to come. That does do it for Europe, though. The only 2-0 set that we had this week for them. Joystick finding the win there. Tomorrow morning, if you want to tune in just before SPL, you'll be able to watch Average Joe's take on Sleekness. Again, that's tomorrow, 11 a.m. Whether it's EDT, EST, I can never remember. Depending on the time of the year, wherever in Atlanta, just use the world clock, say, cool, New York or Atlanta, what time is it there? That's where you're going to be able to find it. Look at the standings in Europe. Elysium still stand after this week as your number 1, but Joystick separate themselves ever so slightly from the pack that is 3rd and 4th by finding themselves a nice solid 2nd place for now. And who they play, I guess, next week will matter. Whoever gets, either Just F6, Snake Hunters, you have to think slightly favored in those matchups, although after what I saw from Just F6 just now, a little more timid on the matchup, depending on if it's a 3rd versus 4th, and of course trying to play catch up to Elysium.
Look, the top 4 in Europe right now, very, very competitive. And if Just F6 is doing that to the number 2 team, then that's a really good sign for them, but obviously all eyes on that top 4.
Well, the good news for everyone watching, I know it's only rounding, around like 12:30. The good news is that this was just the warm-up for the day. SPL still coming on in about 32 minutes. We'll be kicking that off. The Camelot Kings taking on the Atlantis Leviathans, both having a sorrowful loss there to the Titans during the Phase 2 playoffs. And hey, speaking of the Titans, they'll be playing later today up against the Oni Warriors. Of course, tomorrow you'll want to make sure you tune in as well. Titans and Scarabs will be an in-studio set with both of the teams playing just round down over there. You can't see it, but I can, where they will be playing. And it's going to be a fun weekend left for us.
Yeah, I mean, what a way to kick off Phase 3 of the SPL. Yesterday's games were really exciting.
The Warriors looked insane yesterday.
If they can do it again today, it's going to be really, really impressive.
Not only that, but again, getting a Kings Leviathans matchup, what was essentially like, I guess, a 1 versus 3, 1 versus 4. I can't remember where the Leviathans ended up in that one. A very, very close and contested matchup. Makes things feel like they've got a lot of weight for them, but that is, again, coming in just not even a few minutes, in about 30 minutes, about half an hour. So we're going to kick it to a quick break. I think I saw someone tagging for Smite Pong League, so there's going to be some Pong matchup that's going to be happening during the downtime, so you have something to watch while we wait. But we'll be back with the SPL after this.